Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Troy here. Today we're looking at the Bravura preview book from Malibu Comics, 1995, highlighting some of their upcoming books. So, lots of great stuff here. Can't wait to show it to you. Subscribe to my channel, smash that like button. I'm going to cue the intro and I'll be right back.
FitzTroytv. Comic book art critiques. Snarky, sarcastic ways. Representing geeky gaze. Sadie's comics rule the day. Hurry up and turn that page. Michael FitzTroy.
Alright, here we go. So everybody and their brother in the 90s was following Image's example and doing a bunch of creator-owned companies, and, you know, like-minded creators were getting it together. We had Legend that was done through Dark Horse Comics. We have Bravura that is through Malibu Comics. Dan Brereton's Nocturnals. Strike Back by Kevin Maguire. Breed 2 by Jim Starlin. So let's check this stuff out. So Strike Back, The Hunt for Nikita. So I feel like this is the second wave of Bravura, but, you know, they, just like all the other 90s books, had kind of a short shelf life, but this is Kevin Maguire's creator-owned book. I thought it was fun. The art is terrific. I love Kevin Maguire, so I definitely collected that. Then we have Jim Starlin's Breed, and I also collected that. Jim Starlin, Infinity Gauntlet, Death of Captain Marvel. I mean, the list goes on and on. I believe he killed Robin as well. So this was his creator-owned book for Bravura and their creator-owned imprint line. The art was super solid. It was a fun book. This is I think there was a 4-part miniseries, which I actually am going to cover in a future episode. And this is a sequel to that. So good to know it was good enough to warrant a sequel. The Man Called Axe, or AX, by Marv Wolfman and Sean McManus. Love Marv Wolfman. Great writer. One of my favorite writers. Obviously, Teen Titans with George Perez. Sean McManus is a fun artist, so it's fun to see him here. And that art looks totally cool and on point. Then we have Howard Chaykin, The Life and Times of Forever Maelstrom. I don't even remember if this came out. I don't know if I got it. I mean, I definitely got most of these books, depending on who the creator was or whatever. But, I mean, Howard Chaykin is a legend, and I don't remember that at all. Nocturnals, Dan Brereton. Oh, it's October. Halloween is coming. And how can you, if you're a comic book fan, and it's Halloween, how can you not think about or love Dan Brereton? His art is so much fun. It's always spooky and creepy and just gorgeous. And he does a lot of painted work. There's a Nocturnals omnibus out now. I think it just came out. Super cheap, like $30, like 300 pages. Like, you definitely should seek that out if you haven't heard of it, or you remember it and didn't get it, or you just want the omnibus. Totally worth it. Star Slammers, Walter Simonson. That was always one of his big books, I felt, outside of Marvel and DC Comics. I mean, he's definitely like a Marvel DC guy, but he did so many great things outside of that, and I just love Walt Simonson, one of the greatest comic book creators of our time, for sure. Metaphysique by Norm Brayfogle. How interesting, because Norm Brayfogle worked for Malibu doing Prime, and so obviously they tagged him to do this creator-owned book. Once again, gosh, I just don't remember this coming out. You know, a lot of these books probably came out and just like completely fell under the radar, because unfortunately I feel like there's this sort of thing and this barrier in comic books, you know what I mean? And let me know if you agree or disagree with me. I mean, obviously, if you're like anti-Marvel and DC and very indie, like, you don't feel this way. But I feel like even like when my favorite creators went to do like their own indie things, like, it was never as exciting as, like, I'm sorry, but I'd rather have X-Men by Jim Lee than Wildcats by Jim Lee. Do you know what I'm talking about? And I'm not saying it's not necessarily as good, which it wasn't, but it's a mental thing. Am I right? And I feel like I'm trying to break that barrier, even though I have, like, I collect plenty of comics outside of Marvel and DC and love a lot of them, but I feel like there's sort of that trapping there. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. Feel free to let me know in the comments. Jim Starlin, David and Colin, Dreadstar. Whoa, she looks harsh. Look at how dark this coloring is. I think that was sort of a weird thing in the 90s. A lot of image books, like, computer coloring was, like, new. And as an artist myself, I've often been, I don't want to say criticized, but, my colors are always super bright, called garish, called, like, reading candy. Like, I'll take it, but I would rather have bright colors than something so dark that you kind of lose the details of the actual art. Like, David Finch and Frank D'Armata on, like, Brian Bendis's Ultimate X-Men or whatever, or Avengers. Like, I just felt like it made the art so dark that they're doing all this crazy detail. I mean, comic book art is no joke. It takes time to sit there and draw all this crap. So do you really want the colorists coming in and dropping such dark colors that you can't even really see your art? I feel like that's a mistake. So I feel like they're not so much like that anymore, but maybe it was just a fad or something. Gil Kane, like, oh my god, Gil Kane is so awesome. I love his art. So cool that he did create her own book with Stephen Grant. Gil Kane, The Edge. I feel like I got that. I hope I did, because Gil Kane is an amazing artist. I just watched some video recently and they were discussing the fact that Gil Kane used Pentel ink pens. And if you're an artist, you probably know what they are, and I've used them. The only problem with them, with a lot of, like, non-permanent inks and markers and stuff, is that over time they fade and become purple and look really gross. So it really degrades the art and makes it worth a lot less. But if they could design a Pentel with permanent ink in it, that would be amazing, because you have not lived until you've inked with a Pentel marker, and there's just such precision and control and just creates such a fantastic line. And that was the first time I heard that about Gil Kane, and once I heard that, it made perfect sense, just the aesthetic of his art, and I just love his art. He draws, like, perfect anatomy. It's like looking at Bern Hogarth drawing, like, muscles, except they have skin on top of them and clothes. I just love his art. Power and Glory. Now there's the Bravura book. I remember. I mean, I totally collected that. You know, Howard Chaykin is always big into satire, and I'm sure that was his satire on the superhero genre, and always good. I love his art. Talk about a great art aesthetic. And there's Breed, but we already talked about that. Dreadstar, so that's an old book. I feel like Epic for Marvel Comics used to do that, so, but they were creator-owned too, and I feel like they did Star Slammers as well, so it's kind of nice to see that you can move on from one company if you take them your creator-owned property and publish it somewhere else. Nothing new, nothing new, nothing new, nothing new. Wolfman and McManus, Starlin, Grant and Kane, Brereton, Peterson and Maguire, David and Colin, Simonson. So that is Bravura, the 1995 preview book, which makes this like 25, 26 years old, which is kind of crazy. Because a lot of it does look fresh and great, and I love this comic book art. I mean, just look at this comic book art compared to modern comic book art, where it's like so flat and samey and just boring. And there's a lot of dynamism, if I'm making that word up, forgive me, and just true aesthetic beauty. Anyway, comics are great. I love comics. Thanks so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I need that. Hit like, share my content. I'll bring you some more soon. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Take it easy. Bye.